Who we got, Dave?
We've got the Honourable late Bishop and Lady Powell. Fantastic. What a loss, man. What a loss, Bishop Powell. Unbelievable, man.
Great church leader, great pioneer. I think you are going to be very interested to hear what they got to say. Listen up.
Father, as I come into your presence, I don't want to ask for too much, but there's a need I want you to touch. I'm still searching for a place to be accepted. Try.
I was in cabinet making on HP. I had a big order in from one of the store, because I built for the store too, and they pay me for what they sell. I saved the money up, and the money that I saved up, I did not pay them for the material that I took from the store.
Okay.
I take the money and buy my ticket to come to England, and when I came, I sent the money back. The first money I earned, I sent it back to the man, and he couldn't believe it because he didn't even know I was out of the country. We were at a stage now where the children were coming, and the church was not turning any income to us. Never tried to oppress the church. No, not the church, but ministry. Never tried. So we were trying to do some works to bring in resources. But it come at a time when there was nothing coming in, and your children are hungry, and the children need food, and you need food, and you begin to think what to do next. And I tried at one stage to go back to America, because I knew I could make a quick return, but it didn't come through. And when that failed, I decided I would come to England and do a bit more training in my training, so I can develop real upholstery in the English way, the real technique in upholstery. And then I could go back to Jamaica and open up a bit of business and expand on what I was doing. So that's why I forced to come to England. And in this process, what made me have to make up my mind more quickly is when we begin to feel the hardship. We was able to have a house to live in, to sleep in, but no food on the table. And you put the pot on the fire and no food to put into it. And one experience which we never will forget is one evening when we put on the fire and myself and my wife were in the house. I was praying at the veranda and she was praying at the window. And my little sister was in the fire, fanning the fire. I said, "Auntie, me the water boil, what must I do?" She said, "Put some more into it, in the pot."
Just the boiling water.
Just boiling water. And while we were there praying, the dog started to bark. And the gentleman said, "Hold the dog, I'm coming." When he came with a bag of food and just emptied on the veranda. And gave us 5 shillings for 2 It was 2
So food and money.
Food and money. And we couldn't take up the food because we were so whelmed of how God answered prayer. When we look at the food, the amount of food, the kind of food too. And money to go buy mackerel and oil.
To go with it.
Go with it. We could not believe what we see. And while we were still there, the dog was barking again, and then the gentleman came and he brought a string of fish and gave her 5 shillings. So we had food for ourselves and food for our neighbor for a whole week.
God answers prayer.
God answers our prayers. When we see that, we realize that God is on the job.
When I got married, I married for it to last. I got a lot of discouragement. I remember one morning one of the pastors, he came from Kingston, he was a tax collector. And he came and he visited us this Saturday morning. and he wanted a cup of tea. And I said to him, we haven't got any sugar. We can make the tea,
Yes.
but there's no sugar
To go with it.
to go with the tea. And he got on top of his voice on the hill, and he said to me, if it was some other woman, you would leave that man. You know? And when I heard that man say that thing, I said, God, you're not a pastor. You know? And I just look at him, I lost confidence in him, I lost faith. So that's the way we work together.
Right.
Instead of me listening to him,
Yes.
you know, I lost all confidence in his ministry.
Yes. For him saying such a
For him to say such a harsh thing about us, you
Yeah.
see. And even when Bishop wanted to come to England, I said, you sure it's the Lord's will? You know, we would like to stick it out. Because I always believe that God would make a way.
I came to England for Good Friday. It was Good Friday morning I arrived.
How did you come, by the way? Was it on the boat?
No, I came by plane. We have
Okay.
problem. We had storm problem, and we had to stop in New Zealand for a while.
Yes.
And from there we come straight to
Okay.
England.
So you went to church in the morning and then in the evening on
and
Good
the evening,
Friday.
yeah.
Okay.
But after I came here, the first year, I sent for her. I realized that I need to send for her. So 1 year, we only spent 1 year apart. 1 year apart. I realized I need to send for her. And then I said, okay, I sent for her. And when she came, at the time I was working. I got a job as a carpenter,
Yes.
working with a firm. And I used to make good money, to tell the truth.
Yes.
I used to make good money in carpenter work. People used to ask me how you get such a big pay
Yeah.
to some other people.
Yeah.
But because of what I do, I used to get good money for it.
Okay.
For the first couple of months, we've been going around, myself and Pastor Bernard, to see what the church was like here. Because he had just come himself. So
Yes. Was he Brother Bernard at the time? Was he
But
Pastor
Pastor Bernard,
from back home in
from home.
TN?
we
Yes.
were both ordained and ministered from home.
Yes. Did you both plan to come at the same time?
We didn't plan together, but we happened to come together,
Okay.
almost.
Right.
And people begin to offer us churches to take over me. They want me to take over church. In fact, when I went to Forest Gate that morning, walking the church, I said, walking the church, Good Friday morning, people set up and started look around. A lot of people who I know from home saw me coming in.
Familiar faces.
They stand up. And the Bishop McLaughlin was about to preach, and said, stop. He said, bring that man up here. You must be a preacher.
Mm-hmm.
For nobody could stop the service like this. And he escorted me up to the restaurant.
Okay.
And in fact, I asked me to bring a word.
And you did.
I did.
Your first day in England.
First in England.
Amazing.
And he sent for me to go take over a church for him over in Halsden.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him, no, I don't want to do that yet.
And why?
I want to see what the work is like here first before I do that.
Work as in the work that you came to do?
Because I didn't came with that in my mind. What I discovered at the time in his church is some of them only have 10 members and they was fighting for leadership.
Okay.
Few women in the church, everybody wanted to be pastor.
Yes.
You know, that kind of thing was happening.
Yeah.
So I said, no, I don't want that. I don't want to be in anything like that. I want no confusion.
Yeah.
So I talked to Pastor Bernard and he said we could start pioneering. So I met with Reverend Diley
Oh, yes.
and he said he had a big house there, man. Come down.
Mm-hmm.
So we went down there and started prayer meeting.
In Reverend Doyley's house. What's
Yes.
his first name?
Alfred Diley.
Okay, the late Alfred Doyley.
Was-
And again, for reference, it's the Doyley brothers, their dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we started church there with Reverend Diley. That was September
Which year?
1960. 61. See when we came here.
Okay. So you came at Easter now. This is September '61. Okay.
And we start prayer meeting. So we're having prayer meeting, house prayer meeting, but we go to other churches around meanwhile.
Yes.
Because we wasn't having a big service, so we go to churches around. And the prayer meeting start developing, we start to have Sunday school.
Okay.
And it grow and grow, fill up the church, so we have to start looking for a place to rent.
Full up the house, the Doyle's house.
Good house.
Yes. Yes.
So we started looking for a place to rent. And the first place we rent was in Mitchell Lane. We were there for about 2 years.
And what was it? What was the building?
It was a ex-soldier place.
Okay.
Ex-army place.
Yeah, okay.
And we were there, and they sold the building over our head, and it was selling.
Dear.
We couldn't buy it, but maybe we just have the faith to go for it and then tell us it was selling it.
Yes.
But I don't think the Lord wanted us there anyhow. So we had to move back to the house, and from there we moved to Greyhound Lane.
Which lane?
Greyhound Lane up here.
Greyhound. Okay.
So that's where NTA started proper, Greyhound Lane.
Yes. And for reference, Greyhound Lane is where in London?
Stratham, SW16.
Okay.
And we started there, we were in there for about 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
She joined us now, and that bit more solid. We have she and Sister Darley. Coburn didn't come yet. Sister Darley and Pastor Bernard and myself and Ferguson. We were the quorum at that time.
Yeah.
And then we used to, because some other people used to visit sometime they come and visit us from other churches. Some from Church of God in Christ, some from New Testament Church of God, who we know from long time.
Yes.
Used to come and to us visit sometime
Okay.
to make things going.
Yes.
And from there we start to shoot up. We will grow the house. We move into the hall at Greyhound Lane. And at Greyhound Lane, we have a quite increase. We have Sister Coburn and Maria Coburn.
Like Yvonne Colburn.
Yes. First was not, she was married yet. Those days,
okay.
just before she
Okay.
came.
Yeah.
And after she came, Julius,
Sister Julius.
Nemad, she was Nemad at the time, she
Yeah.
came. And the church started to grow.
We were full in evangelism.
Yes. Okay.
That's where we started from.
So you think this is one of the secrets?
Yeah, that's
to
why
your-
we didn't
yes.
have time to go to the other churches, because I think that's where the success of the
growth
the growth came, because we started to evangelize, knocking on doors, and because we actually helped the Baptist church how to do street witnessing.
Okay.
Yeah, and this was their base in here. They come here
This room you're talking about.
every
Okay.
Tuesday evening we would
Yeah.
meet here, and we take them out and teach them how to witness.
Wow. What did you teach them? What was the lessons you gave them?
How to we did like Bible survey,
Okay.
as an
Main scripture, simple
simple scriptures,
Okay.
knocking on people's door. Do
and
you
not,
have a Bible?
and not to argue,
Okay.
not to argue
Mhm.
points. If
And
you say to a person about repentance is the only way to salvation, and then if the person go argue, don't argue with the person. You listen to him and say, okay, we'll come back to you some other time. At the beginning, we have Hawaiian guitars.
Hawaiian.
Hawaiian guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the main instruments we have while we were in the hall.
Okay. Who played that?
We have a brother by the name of Deacon Reed,
Okay.
and we have another brother used to come with his one as well.
just hold two notes.
That's only those two used to have. I used to play my guitar as well at the beginning.
Rhythm
Yes,
guitar.
rhythm guitar. Used to play one, 2 at the beginning. But when the church began to take off now
Get hot.
and get on. We start to build up choirs. And we didn't have much music with the choir. It was more, what we call it, vocal by notes. We used to provide notes, practice from the book.
Okay.
4 parts.
Right. Which book was this?
We use
Soul Story, hymnal.
hymnals.
Which hymnals?
Several books. We have them in the book. We had some
We
on
have
the
spun
back.
back.
Yes. But these are the songs that you used to sing them back in Jamaica?
Some of them.
Right,
Yes.
so you transport them to England with you?
Yeah, and the thing about it, the songs we sing, right, were the songs from Jamaica, the
Right.
choruses.
Okay.
And
We used to use redemption book and song keys too.
Yeah.
But we used to also use the musical ones. Because I used to do music, 4 parts.
So you could read the notes.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Okay.
I think
Alto, bass, tenor. So I used to practice the 4 part of the song. And some songs have 5 parts.
Yes.
We used to like that. That was the kind of original setting for us. And then the choir begins with, when we invite the Americans in, when we begin to invite the Americans in, and we used to go to America and they come to us.
How did that come about, that partnership then, from what it sounds like? How did that start?
I don't know. I need to come in here.
Because I'm going to bring her in.
No, I need to come in here.
Because when we start that, we have the 4 part song was practicing.
How did that go? Give me the 4 parts now. Give me an example.
We have alto, we have choir,
Right.
alto, bass, treble, tenor, and then we have what we call trunk
High note.
which is a higher note,
Okay.
the 5th part.
Uh-huh.
So we used to practice that by the books.
Okay. And you was able to follow the book?
I used to practice it, but I almost had to go when the choir master left us. In the midst of preparing for conference, choir master left us.
Who was that?
It was Brother Brown.
Brown.
He left us in the midst of the preparation. And I had to jump in. It's a good thing I myself and Pastor Brown knew music from home. So I jumped in and picked up the choir and practiced the choir for the conference and take it through. After that conference, Honey came on board
All right.
and took over the choir.
Okay. Carry on from where?
Yeah, let me.
And carry on from there.
Yeah.
So we used, at this stage, we used to have a relationship with the Americans who we used to bring here for our meeting and then bring us there to their meetings. And then she grabbed a hold of them and then grabbed a hold of her.
After the choir master left, right? He and Pastor Bernard used to have this book in here, and I was there picking up because I can play music
Keyboard?
from the book.
From the board. Is
yeah.
it a keyboard you can play?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
you
played
did.
the organ too. We had a piano right over there, and we they would be there struggling, struggling with the notes, and until people start to, they couldn't cope with the different parts. It was very difficult. However, I think I had a sister by the name of Sister Pilgrim, and she had a little gramophone.
Okay.
You know about the gramophone?
What we'd call now a turntable.
Turntable, something like that. And she said to me one day that her husband has some gospel record,
Final.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I asked if I could borrow them, and she loaned them to me. And I start to play, and they sounded good, really, really good. They were more like country western,
Okay.
like Jimmy Reeves and Elvis Presley. And I said, but they sound quite good. And then I think you went off to a funeral in Jamaica. You did the convention your first year with the choir, and then you had to go away April, and the convention was May. And I was trying to practice people the notes. I said, I can't cope with this thing, right?
Yeah.
And I said, listen, you all can throw me out of this room, but I'm going to bring the gramophone down and the records, and I'm going to play them. And if the Holy Spirit prick your heart that you want to sing these songs, that's the one I'm going to teach you.
Okay.
But no more notes.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we started from. Working and praying. If working and praying has any reward. You know?
Keep going for me.
You know?
But it was that one. Okay.
And then we had another one about once I stood in Elvis Presley. Once I stood in the dark. You know that one?
How does it go?
Once I stood in the night with my head bowed low in the darkness as black as could be. That's it.
Okay.
Then my heart and I cried, oh Lord, don't hide your face from me. And when the sisters they heard that, man, they had a rhythm, you see. They jump up and say, yes!
That's what they
This,
wanted.
yes, you know, they start to rock with it too.
Yes.
And you know, and when we come to that part, like, take my hand all the way, every heart, every day, from here to the great unknown. And they rock it. Take my hand, let me stand where no one stands alone. Now they love that, man. They start to rock, and we start. That's where we break away from.
The notes.
Book.
From the
Parts,
corporate.
okay.
Now, in 1975, went to America with a group.
Who did?
I went.
You did. Who's the group you called? The choir?
No, it was a few people.
Right.
Right, Pastor Bernard was included.
Okay.
Bishop wasn't well. And we went to a convocation in Boston.
Okay.
And when I listened to those choir, girl, they were singing. I remember the songs they were, and there were young people singing.
Yeah.
And I said, wait. I sat there and I said, wait. We can do the same. We don't have to go back to the book. And from then, I bought so many records.
Okay. Big vinyls now.
Yes, James Cleveland.
I'm gonna ask you. Okay.
I have about 300 records upstairs.
Okay. James Cleaver was one.
Yeah.
Name the rest for me that you can remember.
Boy, there's so many. Andrew
Crouch.
Crouch, yeah. James Cleveland. Aretha Franklin.
Okay.
You know, she's a bit, but...
Big
yeah.
what?
I mean, sometimes she's in the church, sometimes she did. But I love her records, you know?
Okay.
I tell you, coming back to the records, I'm always playing my record. Even last night, I covered this house. You know?
The vinyls.
Everything.
Yeah.
And we had a piano, just an old-fashioned piano. And that's where I learned to play.
Okay.
Just that piano.
And why was that piano there?
It was there because whenever time I get a break, I would get up like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm very organized. I would get up 6 o'clock in the morning, get them ready for school, send them off, get the dinner ready. By 2 o'clock, you would see me on that piano. I love to play piano.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why it was there, because I spent time playing the piano. And And then the children just followed. They took it over.
Really?
Yes, and then they just started to play the piano. And then, as I say, they went on to the music with Brother Thomas. And Alicia can play. Rosalie sings.
Yes.
And Marcia sings.
Yes.
But Alicia can play, and the three boys.
Yes.
And
Honey play. She played the keyboard. I used to play organ before I came to this country. I used to play organ and guitar.
So the music
too. So it's really family.
Yeah.
And although I give more time to the preaching than that after a while, after they came on board, I just ease out of the music.
Okay.
And I encouraged them.
How did you encourage them?
I just, I would be with them in here, like when they finish their homework and they're playing, and I would sit with them and listen to them playing. And because I know a bit of note, I could help them, tell them when they're going off key.
I used to feel quite pleased that we was able to bring up our children in the fear of God, and that the blessings that we have enjoyed in music had reached down to them. And they were in an age where they have more suitable equipment to deliver what they were doing. And the value of what they were doing was more accepted. And we feel very proud. I used to feel very proud that we were able to bring up our children to be able to make that contribution. And I wish that all my children were musical as those who are. But in one way, they're in their own way. Some are singing, some are instrumental, playing. But whatever way they do it musically, they are making their contribution. And my only regret is that they are not at the same place now, presenting that. Because they're scattered, some in America, some in this, there, some there. So they cannot come together. But if we could get that group together, it would be a big, powerful group. Junior, Delroy, Paul, Rose, and Marcia, all them singing and playing would be a big group.
I appreciate what the church boys are doing now. 100%, 110 what they're doing. Because sometimes you feel like things are slipping away, and this generation coming up, they don't know what we have been through, but the church boys are there to instill, the old time in them. And I would encourage them to continue, the way they're doing, the things that they're doing, the music they're playing, the songs they're singing. I want them to continue, even when we're dying and gone. I want them to continue doing it, to remind this generation, especially the black generation, where we're coming from. Back to basic. They need to go back to basic. We can, the root, where we're coming from. So I really appreciate what they're doing. And anything I can do to help them to continue, I will.
There's one final thing, and that I think what is happening is that the church boys are reminding the generation that the wealth and legacy that they get did not just fall. It was built up from somewhere. And when they actually show them how we as immigrants have to fight our way through with tilly lamp, with lanterns, heater, and all these things that we have to do to keep ourselves warm and survive, they are doing a great job that will bring those memories back to our generation that is coming up now, who have got things slightly. If they could count the picture of what the church boy is doing, they could count the picture of what they are doing, they will set themselves for a generation that will have something to tell to their generation after them.
Yes, thank you for that. And finally, how does it make you feel when you hear the church boys singing your songs?
Proud about what they're doing,
Yes.
very proud of what they're doing, to know that
Especially
it's not just modern gospel, what they call rock roll gospel, but the old time thing, like when we think of the Sankeys, this is the old time messages that you cannot beat them. And when the church boys play these things and play about, it brings you back to a place where your heart beat. You know, straight away begin to think of Moody, what Moody was like when he raised those songs. Begin to think of it. And because we were saved in the West Indies, under those kind of challenge, when we hear the church boys playing those songs, it brings us back there to begin to think. And I think it has something in it that although the church boy may put a little bit of the present flourish on it, but it still brings back something like a challenge to the generation we are in now, when you can link them together with what was back there, what is happening now. And for this generation that we are now encountering with, is that they should have a divine directive for the kingdom. Have kingdom directive. We are in an age where everybody seems to do everything that pleases them politically, intellectually, spiritually, economically. Everybody just do anything that suits them. It's like the church is where the world is now, on a broad way. If we think of Jacob, whom God covenanted the blessing of Abraham too, Jacob was in the same spot. He tried to do things like the world. First thing he did was to deceive his brother, rob him out of his birthright, his blessing. And then he had to run away. But because God's blessing was pronounced upon him, he prospered. And then he started having crises. His father-in-law turned against him. And God spoke to him, said, "Arise and go back to your father's house." Jacob arose, took his family, and started to go back home, but did not reach home. He stopped part the way and buy land, build house, and sin entered the camp. Dinah was being raped. His only daughter was being raped. And Jacob was in crisis, fear, distress, trouble. Didn't know what to do because he stopped short of God's journey. And God had to speak to him again, say, "Arise, Jacob, and go to Bethel and dwell there." And when Jacob did that, he put away all the strange things. And that's what I want to tell my generation. Put away these strange things, strange habits, strange practice, all the things that you are diving into contrary to righteousness. Put them away if we are going to make it to the kingdom.
As I come into your presence, I don't want to ask for too much, but there's a need I want you to touch. I'm still searching for a place to be accepted, trying in so many ways to soothe away my fears. I talk to you now. As everyone worships your name, I cry in between all the same. You hear me in spite of everything I've done, and you tell me Lord.